I was browsing the internet one morning when I randomly got the urge to check Craigslist for computer parts. I usually check Marketplace at least once a day, but rarely check Craigslist because it usually has the same garbage every time I look. But today was different. The first thing that caught my eye was a gaming PC for sale listed about 12 hours ago. It was a tastefully done black and white build with high-end parts. It had a Ryzen 5 5600 and an RTX 3070. Some things that stood out to me were the G-Skill RAM, Noctua Chromax CPU cooler, and the white NZXT H500 case. The weird part was that all of this was listed for only $500. I thought to myself, that can't be right, or maybe it's a scam. But I figured it was worth a shot. I sent an email asking if they would do $450 and that I could pick it up anytime in the next day or two. The next day, I was in the middle of working on my most recent PC flip when I got an email from the seller saying that they would accept the offer of $450 and that I could pick it up later that day. We exchanged some more details and arranged for the meeting. This was probably the quickest exchange I've ever had for a high-end item locally. The seller was a man of few words. I asked him why he was selling it. He said he didn't have time to play games anymore, and it takes up a lot of space on his desk. He then asked me how I wanted to pay, like a store clerk. I said cash and handed him $450 in greenbacks. We shook hands and he was on his way. I placed the PC on the passenger seat and put the seatbelt on to protect it on the way home. I was both excited and nervous to plug this thing in. The guy seemed trustworthy, but the deal just felt too good to be true. I hit the power button and it booted up. Whew, a sigh of relief. I checked Task Manager and everything seemed correct. I anxiously downloaded Furmark and HWInfo64 to observe the temps. It ran flawlessly. The CPU and GPU stayed under 70 degrees during testing, which is impressive for this case. In person, this build looked even better than the pictures. I admired the attention to detail that someone put into choosing the components of this build. Quality parts and a beautiful aesthetic. I'm a lucky guy for catching this one. The motherboard is an MSI B450 Tomahawk. The graphics card is a Gigabyte Gaming RTX 3070. It's a solid card with a beefy cooler that performed very well. I tried overclocking it and was astonished to see it could handle up to 200 MHz on the core and 600 MHz on the VRAM. I'm not a huge fan of Gigabyte due to some of their previous RMA issues, but both of the cards I recently tested have been high quality. For storage, a 500 GB SanDisk SATA SSD was used as a boot drive, and a 1 TB Crucial T500 Gen 4 NVMe SSD as a game drive. The heatsink really isn't necessary for this drive if it is running at Gen 3 speeds, but it shows the level of quality that the builder strived for. The RAM was 32 GB of G-Skill Trident Z Neo running at 3600 MHz CL16. I've never seen this black and white version before, and they are stunning in person. They can be hard to find and cost a significant premium over your average RAM sticks. And finally, it came ready to go with a fresh install of Windows 11. The next step was a thorough cleaning before I listed it. The seller either tended to his fireplace or was smoking something before he loaded the PC into his car. It had these black ashy fingerprints all over the case that really stuck out. I took the GPU out and began a deep clean. The GPU was in perfect condition. It wasn't even dusty. I wiped down the case and cleaned all the marks off it. It cleaned up fairly easily and came out looking great. After a quick photo shoot, I put an ad on Marketplace listing it for $800. Let the bizarre offers roll in. The first came from a local glass artist that wanted to trade a custom smoking apparatus, beer or wine glass, in exchange for the PC. I'm sorry, but I don't think a bong is worth an $800 computer. Although, I have to admit, this guy does make some really cool stuff. Next was the guy that wants to buy the 3070 for $200. I mean, who doesn't want a 3070 for $200? I have seen 3070s go for under $300, but I don't know what made this guy think that was even an option here. It wasn't long before I received a serious offer. I got the computer set up for him by loading some games and software that he requested. He was coming from console and looking to join his friends in the realm of PC gaming. We arranged a meeting and I let him come by and try the PC out. I showed him how to adjust the ARBG effects on the GPU and motherboard. I used Signal RGB to control the GPU, but had to use MSI Mystic Light for the motherboard. I shared some advice and answered any questions he had. He was a very satisfied buyer, explaining that he loved the look of the build and that it was a good deal. It was also a huge upgrade over his laptop with integrated graphics. I was happy to introduce another person to the PC master race. This PC was sold for $800. I paid $450 for it, leaving me with a profit of $350. With a quick sale in the books, I asked myself, did I undervalue this PC? Based on the responses I received, I probably could have charged more for it. I think $900 would have been more in line with the market price of my area. But I think I priced it fairly enough that I don't have to feel bad about making so much profit on the easiest flip of my life. I can only hope that my future PC flips will be this easy. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.